My fellow Ambalanders, uh, today I am doing my daily briefing on live video so that we can have a personalized conversation and exchange. Thank you all, and I send warm greetings to Ambazonians. Today I have come to reassure you of the strength of our resistance and the outcome, which is very certain. I have said repeatedly that this is the last phase of our struggle for independence. Since 1961, we have fought against Cameroon as we did against the Germans, the British. We have resisted Cameroon's attempt not only at occupying but at annexing Ambazonia and transforming it into its province. And many people have asked, as a compatriot did yesterday, if there is a middle ground that we can meet Cameroon. And I've repeatedly said, since 1961, all attempts at finding a middle ground with Cameroon were responded to with a lot of violence and brutality. They've taken us for granted. They believe violence, corruption, and historical revision will maintain the occupation without a response, because it has been a strategy that has been successful since 1961, where Amazonian leaders were simply threatened or murdered, and they either succumbed to what Ahijo or Bia wanted, or they were put in jail or exiled. And so every Amazonian leader has succumbed to the violence and threat and public propaganda, the monopoly of communication, the monopoly of historical memories. And this generation has been blessed not only with a populace that has been willing to listen, but also willing to understand our history, benefit from social media, and educated themselves. And we have also been blessed by executives and leadership that has been very clear about what we are against, has been very clear about what we are for, and has demonstrated that by doing the things that are necessary for us to win. Lest you forget, the first things the occupier did was to dismantle our institutions. Institutions are critical in bringing a population together and in strengthening civil society. Political institutions were all dismantled, economic institutions, and our ability to establish a force that could resist Cameroon's occupation was also very much undermined. So Cameroon has been very successful in its strategy of escalatory occupation, recruiting from amongst Ambazonians millions who became intermediaries between the occupier and the occupied. Why they posted SDOs and DOs as commanders to oversee that the slaves they had recruited were doing their bidding. The face of the occupation was either the brutal occupation forces or ordinary Amazonians that we could meet on a daily basis. Some of them elected by us, some of them appointed by the system, some of them were Amazonian citizens who live in our neighborhoods and somehow found themselves as elite of the occupation. Today, we have denied all of these people and institutions that replace our democratic institutions the opportunity to continue to be intermediaries between us and the occupier for their own interests. And this has been one of the most successful strategies in undermining the legitimacy of the occupation. So, fellow Ambazonians, I know you get up on a daily basis and you are questioning how we are going to move from point A to point B. What I can tell you with certainty is that the Ambazonian resistance is in motion, and the institutionalization of ideas and the processes of this resistance is gaining grounds. There are sovereignty projects that we are developing on the ground, whether it's questions of institutions under ADLA, liberation tax, which are designed not only to mobilize resources, but also to assert authority and to undermine the authority of the occupier. The idea of no color, no yellow color taxes in Amazonia, which is also designed around taking over the authority in determining what happens in our cities and in our blocks. So we have been undermining the ability of the enemy to exercise power in our land. And we have not only been doing that, we have been exercising power. It gradually shifts the allegiance of our people from a system constructed to make sure that they are totally dependent on it, to the fledgling institutions and processes that we are putting in place. Ambazonia will be recognized as an independent state. That is the only sure path to peace and security in the Gulf of Guinea. And that is the only sure path also for stability in Cameroon and the creation of wealth and opportunity in that particular region. We have no doubt about this outcome. Our worry also is the imminent collapse and disintegration of the state of Cameroon. One of the reasons why empires did collapse was the accumulation of unwarranted authority without consent. Most empires collapse because of that arrogance. And we have seen many countries devolving powers to different centers of authority and power. And that has not only been a desire to share power, it has been a lesson in history. The United Kingdom is an example. It was a vast empire that also had the United States under its authority, entire Canada, Australia, most Commonwealth countries. The United Kingdom is made up of Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland, and England. And England has realized that maintaining the viability of the United Kingdom will require some level of understanding and self-government in the constituent nations that make up the United Kingdom. That is why the election of the current Prime Minister Starmer, the first place was to visit Scotland to have a conversation of equals, conversation born out of respect and recognition. For 61 years, the occupier has not only denied us our humanity, it has not even recognized our existence. We are talking about Ambazonia producing almost 60% of the GDP of the state of Cameroon and that of Ambazonia. We have not had the kind of respect that you would think a country as broke, as unstable as Cameroon will give to Ambazonia. It has not only denied us this respect, it has denigrated us, called us all sort of names in order to justify the level of violence that it has used on us. It's called us Biafrans. It's called us the 2 cubes of sugar. Don't forget, these are genocidal terminologies. They're terminologies of dehumanization. Cubes of sugar are dissolvable. So they think they can simply dissolve us. Little did they know that we we are resistant to being dissolved. But not only that, we've begun to dissolve the 8 cubes of sugar. They've called us les Anglo. They've called us all sort of names. This in preparation for the justification of the level of violence, burning of our homes, murdering of our grandmothers, murdering of our babies, and burning their corpses, and all sort of crimes that they've committed without accountability. So my people, Ambazonia will be recognized as an independent state, not only for the interests of Ambazonia, but as I have said, for the interests of peace and stability in the Gulf of Guinea and the creation of opportunities. For us to speed up this process, we must also do our homework. It is not enough to tell the world what you are against. What matters is what you are for. And that is why we have put in place the Amazonian Independence Manifesto. It's a forward-looking document that captures in clarity the crimes that Cameroon has committed against Amazonia, and also captures the vision that we have for our new country. And this vision is a reflection of the opportunities and the work that is being done to ensure that our system of education captures the moment and prepares the Ambazonian from a very young age to be equipped with the skills and knowledge to be able to survive in the modern economy. And we think education will be key for the survival of Ambazonia. We can't simply count on our natural resources. As we have seen in other countries, there are resources that we've never tapped into. And I've spoken about these opportunities many times. There are millions of homes in Amazonia without electricity. Yet, every year, I'm talking in the rainy season, the amount of rainfall that can generate electricity is enormous. The amount of sunlight that can be used to generate energy that will light up homes, power industries, and give our people a sense of dignity. These opportunities are there, but it requires a foundation of education and knowledge to be able to garner the skills that will be needed to transform these sources of energy into real energy that can be used in our household and in our industries. We have thousands and thousands of villages. In my tour of the states, I presented a vivid picture of the opportunities in various states. Each year, millions of our people die because of treatable diseases, waterborne diseases. They die because of dysentery, lack of clean drinking water. The Amazonian government in the future will be able to create reservoirs which can be treated to supply each household with clean drinking water. And this will reduce the level of infant mortality, and it will ensure that resources are not diverted from developmental projects into treating of sick persons. I have also said a sick populace is not a populace that can develop or empower our communities. 30% of our people are sick on a daily basis. It's either malaria, it's typhoid, it's dysentery, unknown diseases, 90% of which are preventable simply by keeping a clean environment, ensuring that people have good drinking, clean drinking water. So our manifesto is an embodiment of the dreams and aspirations of the Ambazonian people. Local industries that will become the engine of economic growth will be revived. It is unacceptable, as I spoke of last time, that a bag of rice in Thailand may cost 7,000 amber before it reaches the enemy port in Douala. That amount has multiplied by 2. Before it leaves the port, the middlemen that exist must have multiplied that amount by 3. Before it reaches our own country, that bag of rice must have been multiplied by 4. Think about it this way. In Menchum, in Ngokitungia, we have vast pieces of land that have been used historically for the production of high quality grain. The equipments were looted, the processing industries were closed. Thousands of people lost their jobs. Thousands of children never had the opportunity anymore to go to school. All the pieces of land became properties of middlemen supported by DOs, and these land, they were mostly taken away from the local farmers and sold to Cameroonians or some of these elites that are intermediaries between Cameroon and our country. This will come to an end because this has been one of the strategies used by Cameroon to dispossess Ambazonians of our land. No economy survives without a credit system. It is through credit institutions that people are able to invest, to expand industries that are sources of employment and the creation of jobs and opportunities. Through credit institutions, students are able to even get loans. Small businesses are able to get loans. Farmers are able to get loans for pesticides to expand their fields, to pay workers, to engage in advanced production for sales. The credit institutions were all dismantled. Our banks were looted. And the Cameroon credit banks have now taken over in Ambazonia. And getting credit has been very difficult. They have been specialized in providing credit to Cameroonians, the elites, and other intermediary institutions that foster capital flight or the acquisition of Ambazonian land. The only opportunities Ambazonians have are credit unions with very low liquidity, high interest rates, and selective disbursement of credit. So how we have survived without a banking system that is strong enough to regulate our economy is a mystery. And I think we will alter our fate by ensuring that the Amazonian Central Bank is going to be a reliable source to strengthen local banks as credit institutions, to ensure that different sectors of our economy have the liquidity they need to invest, to expand, create jobs, opportunities, and to develop new technology. The Amazonian educational system believes is one that is going to focus on it's a skill-based kind of curriculum. We all grew up in a society where there was virtually no way we could apply the knowledge that we acquired. And we became liabilities not only to ourselves and our communities, but liability to our own country. The jobs, the opportunities that existed had been designed in a way that many people escaped from being mechanical engineers. They escaped from being plumbers, carpenters, motor mechanics, simply because the enemy had designed these or had qualified these professions as dehumanizing. But what we are going to do is to make sure that we strengthen the skill base of Ambazonia so that people can be productive and people can immediately use the knowledge they have acquired to support their families and local communities. So the Ambazonian Independence Manifesto is an important piece of document that also spells out the kind of political structures that we will have. And I think that everybody should read it. It is going to return power to the states. It is going to ensure that if you are exploiting oil in a Diabato, you are going to pay your tax in that particular locality. You are going to process the crude in that particular locality. You are going to create subsidiary companies that can benefit from the byproducts of these produces that are harvested from these areas. And I think we must insist in an approach that consolidates Amazonian wealth. Here in Norway, the Norwegian fund is, I think, the second biggest fund after uh, uh, the that of Saudi Arabia, just born out of proper management of its resources. And I think if we institute an accountable system, we will manage the natural resources that we have. We are going to generate enough wealth to invest in other opportunities that can power our economy, bring foreign direct investment, make Amazonians who are out here and sending billions in remittances to be able to return home and invest the money. Amazonians out of the country have spent billions in failed investment in Amazonia. All of these investments that they have been making have created job opportunities for a wide range of individuals and fields in Ambazonia. But they have all collapsed because of the absence of institutions that can support this industry. They've all collapsed because of corruption, whether they are family corruption, societal corruption, because people do not have the means of survival. Every little investment becomes a means of survival, and they collapse it within a few years. And Ambazonians out have gradually begun making investment instead in Cameroon. Take, for example, Ambazonians have been sending a lot of containers into Amba, moving these goods into Ambazonia, using family members, middlemen, and women. If you calculate the amount of money that Ambazonians invest in a single container, transporting it through La République du Cameroon, you compare that to Biafrans sending containers into Port Harcourt, you will see how we have been ripped off by Cameroon. These investments are looted before they even get anywhere. And it becomes very difficult for these small business initiatives to be sustained. And sometimes people have taken credit. People have been able to accumulate savings for many years, hoping to have a secondary source of income that can help them support their families. We are very clear. Though we will increase the quality of goods that Amazonians may be able to send into Ambazonia, as not to make it a dumping ground, but I can assure everyone, for every Ambazonian shipping into the port of Victoria or Tico, it will be free. It will be free because we are definitely very sure it's good economics. The less money you scoop from little investors, the more investment they make, the more opportunities they create, the more jobs they create, and the more wealth they spread. And so our manifesto is very clear about all of these microeconomic strategies. Our continent is not the way it is because of the lack of ideas. It is the way it is because of the absence of bold leadership that is able to experiment on alternative approaches to economic development and political restructuring. We try to restructure our countries in the political image of the Western Hemisphere, negating the fact that the political structuring has a direct correlate or a causality in the way that we develop our economy. And I am of the firm opinion that we will structure our country to reflect the way we are going to design our economic processes and our economic strategies. We've learned a lot building our curriculum of education, from looking at Scandinavian curriculum of education. Finland declared a country of the most happiest people on earth. Norway has always been in the first three countries in terms of positive economic indicators. Denmark, Sweden have always been at the highest level of countries with stable economies. And we've looked at what are called the tigers of Asia. We've looked at how these countries have rapidly moved from colonial outfits at the same time we were colonies to become independent creators of wealth and opportunities and hubs of direct investment. And we've also looked at other areas. And all of these things have been captured in different designs that will be the future of our country. And so I ask you to have faith. So each morning when you get up, don't only think about the war. Be positive. What kind of country do you want? What kind of country are you fighting and dying for? What are your aspirations? How can that be reflected in the design processes in creating the kind of country that you want? And so every day we are working for you. We are making investment in time and treasure to ensure that that happens. Yet I understand We will not be there if we do not build the Ambazonian defense forces to make sure they are equipped to face the challenges that confront our nation on a daily basis. We will also respond to the enemy's strategy of ensuring that it projects its authority in our country. No way. You may not understand, but I say it time and again. The struggle for liberation is about also who has authority, who has power. And if you allow the enemy to legislate, execute, and adjudicate, and then it shows power, you must not only undermine it, you must also legislate, you must adjudicate, and you must execute. That is how you project power. And my people, for the past 7 years, we have been masters of this triad approach. We've legislated, we have adjudicated, and we've executed. And we have undermined Cameroon's ability to project itself as legitimate power in Ambazonia by denying it the right to organize elections. And we will continue to carry on these strategies. We will have setbacks are times of reflection to understand how the road ahead looks and what missteps we've made to arriving where we are. So have confidence in what we do. I'll reiterate certain things that I have spoken about in the past. The sale of Ambazonian land. I have informed Ambazonian forces in Meza that Anguafo is an existential threat to the Ambazonian project, and he must be decommissioned. He is an existential threat to the Ambazonian project. The father of the current form for Anguafo III was the third vice of one of the most fascist political formations that have ever existed in the continent of Africa. The CPDM has been an instrument for murder, looting, systematic abuse, instability, and chaos, not only in the Gulf of Guinea, but in the continent. And we have outlawed the CPDM in Ambazonia. And Wafo III died being one of the strongest proponents of the occupation of our country. And his son has taken over, and his first assignment was to destroy the Tabu Kwifon. Tabu Kwifon headquarters was in the Njumankon area of Mankon. He infiltrated the Tabu Kwifon using his Nchindas, enablers in the diaspora, and then he made the Mankon Fon Palace the headquarters of the genocidaires. That is where they move to burn villages, burn homes, rape our girls. And he has continued with the scheme to lure quarterheads as proxies to his genocidal colonial policies. He has continued to be the rallying point for all renegade enabler chiefs and forms. A few days ago, I wrote greatly of Chief Lituli. I wrote about him because he also was a chief. I wrote about Kuva Likenyi, the Bakwiri Fon who fought valiantly against German colonialism. I wrote the other time about Asonganyi, who defied the odds in Lebialem. And we have seen the bravery of other chiefs and Fon, Chief Ayamba of late, and others. The Fon of Mankon is a threat to Ambazonian project. And I call on the Mankon people to reject him. And I warn all those who continue to be proxies to his strategies and his policies that our forces will move after you. we must be aware that the Ambazonian land is the only treasure we have. As I've said before, the three factors of production, land, labor, and capital, are critical for the survival of communities, because it is through these three factors of production that the institutions for the economy, education, and political structures are erected. And any people who sell their land and give their land away to their abusers will neither have the labor nor the capital. It has been very easy for our generation to sell our heritage and then carry our traditional regalia into exile and pretend every Saturday and Sunday that we are going to cultural meetings. We have become part and parcel of the greatest humiliation in modern times. A people who can give away their culture and their heritage without any resistance. And every day we find them eating achu in foreign countries. We find them pretending to dance. We find them sitting in meetings. They don't know history about the background of the dresses they wear, and they know nothing about the extent to which that culture is nearly extinct. And so I call on everyone across Ambazonia to stop the practice of selling Ambazonian land to Cameroonians. Those who continue to do so will be arrested. Those who buy the land, and this is a strong message to Cameroonians, in the next few months, we will be putting out clarifying legislation on this also. We will take back the land and you will lose your money. And those who have sold the land will be held accountable also. Selling Ambazonian land to Cameroonians is enabling the colonization of our country. It's ensuring that the last piece of treasure that we have as a people is given away. The same treasure that brave chiefs like the Kova, they fought to preserve. I know it is important, as I spoke to a certain community the other day, you market it, you don't go and hide in other people's land. It's not going to work that way. And when you hide in foreign countries, you deny the existence of your own. You deny that it's not necessary to fight for independence. And the country in which you are, you refuse to even read their history, how they sacrifice for their own independence. On Saturday, before I get to Saturday, this is how we are going forward. And we'll be developing state-wise liberation plans. We have been working very hard in Boyo, in Fako, in Meme, in Bui, in Mezam, in Momo, and to a certain extent in Libialem. Our strategy is to build a composite liberation plan that factors in the liberation, stabilization, and development. This is going to help our forces understand, the journey that we are taking. We've realized that, just a moment, please. We have realized that forces are fighting in tunnels, and they do not understand how you move from point A to point B. And they do not understand the processes that they can institute to sustain the resistance. And we have been inserting those aspects in an escalatory manner. What we want to do now is to build a blueprint, one that captures with great clarity and detail both the liberation strategy for a particular state, the institutionalization of different processes and ideas that can back the defense establishment and can get the population become part and parcel of the decolonization process. This is central to ensuring that forces work together. And we will do that for all the 13 states. But as you have known about the strategy I've put in place, our independence depends on a couple of states, and we'll make sure that we get these strategies implemented. We have seen a lot of collaboration between our forces, and this is very encouraging, very encouraging, and we hope to display that in the next 3 months as we celebrate our Day of Independence. I know you've also been worried, and for good reason. We've lost a couple of soldiers, especially in Mezam, in the past weeks, and we don't go to sleep because we watch over these forces, we monitor, and these deaths are preventable. These deaths are preventable. I just observed a process today, and it showed clearly the vulnerability of La Republic. Our soldiers shouldn't die because most of the fallen soldiers, if they didn't make certain mistakes, they wouldn't have fallen. And I also call on our population to stop enabling or spying on those who are fighting to defend their country. Cameroon would not survive in Ambazonia without the support of Ambazonians. And I think it's treacherous. Treachery is even a mild word to use. It's a betrayal of monumental proportion to work for a people, for a country that murders your own people. And some of you celebrate it. You take pride in it. 10 years from today, you would be ashamed of yourself. Your children will run away from social media. When they will look back at your activities, they will be ashamed of you because you are working on the assumption that Cameroon is going to somehow, status quo ante is going to be restored. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. We are more than 3,000 men armed. Cameroon has 5,000 something in Ambazonia, not enough to hold one state. And our fortunes are only coming. We have been a people who've never been supported. And I can assure you, things will change. Our strategy on the ground is also to make sure there's proper resource management, because corruption is rife in the forces, and it has to stop. I've told the forces corruption is more treacherous. You transfer resources that are meant for the acquisition of arms for the defense of our homeland, our civilian population, and barracks. You are committing more egregious crimes than Cameroon is committing. And so it will take time to develop these management schemes, this education information flow that will change the mentality of some of these forces. And these activities have been exacerbated by social media stunt and the spread of false information. I want to thank our forces in Mezam for their brilliance, their steadfastness, and despite the loss of their comrades, have remained resilient and brave. I am with you on a daily basis from Bafut through Bali down to Bamenda Central to Chomba, Bambui Axis, Babanki, and everywhere else into Pinyin. You must stand together. You must develop strategies together and fight together. You shall not take comfort in the little pockets of areas that you think you've consolidated. For you to survive in Mezam, you must strategize together. You've imposed no yellow color taxi. I need to see enforcement of that by all of you. I think you've asserted your authority, and you need to show the population who is in charge. I also send great salutations to our forces in Bui. That is the land where La Republique goes to die. Thank you, Jakiri Brigade, for the brave actions. I want to also thank the other generals, Mad Dog, Vulture, General Viper, Wonyo, the Only Bro, and others for the bravery. And I ask you people to work together. to look at the example of Myanmar and see how different forces have come together and they are closer to taking over the capital. If you set your differences aside, you will not only be more powerful, you will be more armed, you will be richer, and most importantly, you will stay alive. That is the benefit of working together. I've also seen positive news in Momo, and I encourage Momo fighters to work together, to stand together, and to shame the enemy. They thought the killing of our Supreme General will bring our resistance in Momo to its knees. We've put them in their place, and we can only grow stronger. Down, we are seeing movements in Fako. I encourage the forces there to accept the project that I am sponsoring there to supply all forces with the POPs they need to protect themselves and our community. And I'm giving this offer to all the other states. We've done that for Mezama and Momo, for Bui, for Fako. We're discussing with forces in Meme, and we'll do same for Ngokitungi and other places. You don't have a choice than to bond together and defeat this weak enemy. Thank you all, my fellow people, and we will see you on Friday. Saturday is our fundraiser. I invite each and every one of you to join us to continue to commit for the resistance for different sovereignty projects. As I said, Ambazonia will be recognized as an independent state. Take that close to your heart. God bless you all.